Okay, folks, let's go. Let's start like this. Tell you that 59-year-old barrister Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang, a member of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, is the governor of Plateau State, north-central Nigeria. After assuming the headship of the state, fondly referred to as the home of peace and tourism, Governor Mutfwang appreciates that his beloved Plateau is anything but peaceful over the course of the last few years. No thanks to the perennial conflict between farming communities and nomadic herdsmen. He had also served as a chairman of Mangu local government area, one of the 17 local government areas in the state. In an exclusive interview with your award-winning journalist hangout, Governor Mutfwang talks about politics and development strides in his beloved Plateau State. Babajide Kolade Otitoju spoke with the Plateau State Chief Executive. Let's share the interview with you. We'll talk after it. Thank you.
This is a special interview with the Governor of Plateau State, Barrister Caleb Mutfwang. Your Excellency, it's a pleasure to be here to interview you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Babajide. Thank you, TVC. You're welcome to the Plateau.
Thank you so much, sir. It's good to be here after more than 20 years.
That's good to know. And I'm sure you have a lot of fond memories of the past, which we are trying to recreate by the grace of God.
Thank you, sir. I want you to tell us a story. You defeated an incumbent APC government, so to say, a ruling party, and you brought back the glory days of PDP in power on the Plateau. How did this happen? Because in recent years, the PDP in Plateau State had been ill-reputed for crises and all that. How were you able to pull this through?
Well, thank you. I believe that everything in life happens according to the will of God.
Yeah.
And I want to believe that in God's calendar, the time had come for the PDP to return to power on the Plateau. And it had to be so because Plateau State is the home of PDP. You will recall that Plateau State has been at the center of many democratic decisions in Nigeria.
Yes.
Abiola was nominated as the presidential candidate of the Plateau. Obasanjo was nominated as the presidential candidate of the Plateau. And the founding chairman of PDP was the late Chief Solomon Dalchebla, the great emancipator of blessed memory,
Yes.
who was also at a point in time the leader of the G34 that confronted the Abacha regime, with a letter, asking him to recuse himself from the presidential election. So Plateau State has been at the center of Nigeria's democratic journey.
Yes.
And for the people of Plateau State, they have always aligned with a party that they feel focuses on social justice. And so the slogan of the PDP, power to the people, resonates with the Plateau people a lot. And so when we had the opportunity to clinch the ticket, which was by the grace of God, because I keep telling people that Plateau State is the cheapest democratic environment in Nigeria. That is not money that determines who becomes a governor. And I can say that way back to Lalong, my predecessor, to Jan, who was before him, and also to Darie. It is the will of the people, which I believe aligns with the will of God, that determines who becomes a leader. But that is not to suggest that we didn't have to do our homework. We did our homework. We traversed the entire length and breadth of the state, selling our message to the people. Our slogan, "The time is now," resonated with the people. The time is now to change the narrative of the Plateau. The time is now to restore the credibility of Plateau. The time is now to move Plateau State economically. The time is now to restore the name of Plateau as a home of peace and tourism. Because you would recall that the security challenge has confronted Plateau for close to 2 decades now.
Yes.
And the people are tired. And we came in with the desire to end, this hostility that has come upon our people. And so when we say the time is now, it has many dimensions. Yes. And we did our work. Took our campaign to the people, and the people bought into our message. And that is why when the votes were being counted, and there were attempts to hijack the votes of the people, it will amaze you to know that people slept at INEC offices all over the state to defend their votes. And I want to salute also the INEC officials on ground who try to make sure that they live up to expectation. The security agencies did not interfere, and at the end of the day, the votes of the people counted, and we got into office by the grace of God.
Your Excellency, would you say traditional APC members voted for you? Core APC members, would you say you got their votes as well?
Honestly, APC never existed on the Plateau. I'm being honest.
But they had a 2-term.
95% of those who claim to be in APC today, they were all PDP members. Up to 2015. It was the resistance to the PDP decision in 2015 that gave people the opportunity to go to the APC platform. Hitherto, there wasn't any serious, credible politician from the Plateau who belonged to APC. And so, even people like Chief Joshua Dadi, he won his Senate seat in 2015 on the platform of the PDP. And so, those who have been part of the APC journey from 2015 to 2023, I can boldly say that 60 to 70% of them voted for us because they believe in the Plateau project. And so for them, party platform is not an issue. They believe that the right leader should lead the people of Plateau State. And so I would say that, yes, I won on the platform of the PDP. There were people on the platform of the APC. But at the end of the day, it was the Plateau People's Party that won.
Now, you said the APC never existed. How do we reconcile that with the fact that an APC governor, yes, you left your party, an APC governor had 2 terms, he got re-elected. So if the party did not exist, how did that happen?
Good. I'll tell you, honestly, I don't want to bring controversy, but it's doubtful if APC won that election in 2015. Because I recall vividly that we adjourned for collation, and we woke up to discover that the results had been announced before the time for collation came, the final collation. And so it was highly contested in court on very sound grounds of the votes that were actually won. In 2019, we had the General Jeti Hussein as our candidate. And it is also very doubtful that he lost that election. But you know, in Nigerian parlance, sometimes when you have to declare a run in some places,
yes,
it's difficult for a sitting government, not to be in charge of that process.
Yes.
But yes, let's take it that an APC government served 2 terms. Again, what was the verdict of the people? And I think the verdict of the people on that APC administration is what brought us into office in 2023.
You know, if there was no disunity within the PDP, if you didn't have this rancor, whereby people said, oh, you cannot singularly produce your successor, you know that this story will not have happened. So that will make many people believe that indeed the PDP contrived to self-destruct and to enable the rival party to steal its thunder.
Well, that's the beauty of democracy, Mr. Babajide. That's why I believe in multi-party democracy, that people should have the right of choice.
Yes.
I don't believe in the one-party state. And so, yes, we took a decision to field a particular candidate in 2015, and that did not resonate with many people. And we paid the price for it, because a lot of people who got disenchanted decided to express their disenchantment by not necessarily that they moved to APC. They simply put their votes, for the alternative candidate. And that really created a serious problem for the PDP.
No.
It shows, again, it's a lesson to learn that no matter how you feel you are solidly on ground,
yes,
you have to listen to the people. I think that for me is a lesson we learned.
Do you think that scenario can happen again?
We must learn from history. We must learn from history. If we don't learn from history, then we are fools. We must learn to listen to the voice of the people. We must learn to. I believe that it is always easier to
yes,
go with the direction of the people than to go against the people. And so, for now, we are trying to make sure that we do not take the people for granted. But I can tell you, as a Democrat and as a beneficiary of true democracy, I was elected as a local government chairman. And I tell you, it was not an anointing. It was a toughly contested election. And since I benefited from that experience, I want to be able to raise the profile of democracy on the Plateau and make sure that the people decide who govern them at that level, the councillors and the local government chairman.
Okay. After you won the election, and even in the days leading to the election that you won, your local government came under unremitting attack from criminal headsmen and bandits, so to say. Would you say that those attacks were politically motivated or just a matter of coincidence?
Certainly coincidence, no. It couldn't have been coincidence. My local government, Mangu local government, traditionally has been known as one of the most peaceful local governments in the state.
Yes.
And, it's one of the most active farming communities in the state. And so, yes, there have been sporadic attacks here and there, but the magnitude with which it came just before my swearing in tells that, look, this couldn't have been a coincidence. And also the local government of my deputy,
yes,
which had actually been under attack for some time, but the intensity with which it grieved told a different story. And it's difficult not to therefore think that there could have been some political motivation behind the attacks. Now, the factors behind the insecurity in Nigeria is multifaceted.
yes,
We can't put it down to one issue. There are economic motives, there are religious motives, there are political motives, and so you have to look at it, the aggregate of all these motives so that you can be able to proffer the solution. And I'm glad, like you mentioned, these are criminal bandits. But the question I always raise, who are these bandits? Why did they choose Plateau State? Who invited them? You know, because we've been trying to make sure that we use what you call a non-kinetic methods to be able to discuss and interface with these people. Maybe they have some grievances that we can address. But we can't put a face to a name to their faces. You know, we don't know them. There is hardly any two communities on the plateau that are fighting each other that you can say, okay, let's go and have a peace talk. So what you are having is these criminal bandits come in, take people by surprise, sometimes even take the security agencies by surprise.
Yes.
Like it happened in December 2023, where on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and even Boxing Day, we had this series of attacks that at the point the army was repelling these bandits at 36 different points simultaneously.
Wow.
And you can't tell me that that was not premeditated. Or what was the grievance? Could it just be that they are trying to scare the people, chase them out of their lands, and grab the lands? Could it be that, they are on the mission of ethnic cleansing? These are questions that keep arising in their hearts. And unfortunately, I cannot tell you we have all the answers now. We are trying to decode the minds of these people. But the key thing is that whatever their grievances are, their activities are criminal in nature.
Yes.
And I believe that as a government, we must deal with them as criminals, bring them under the rule of law, and make sure that they face the wrath of the law so that we can be able to deter others who may want to join them into carrying such nefarious acts.
So, Your Excellency, how big is the problem of ethnic cleansing and alleged renaming of communities? Please,
yes, it will amaze you that for over 15 years now,
yes,
these incessant attacks have been going on. Communities have been taken. At the time I came in as governor, I asked for details, and we had nothing less than 64 communities between Barkiladi and Riom, local governments, that have been taken over by bandits and renamed. And even till today, there are schools being occupied by the bandits, public schools. There are primary healthcare centers being occupied by these bandits. And you know the implication of that both for education and healthcare.
yes.
So those who are benefiting from those facilities, from those institutions, are cut off. Today, they are scattered all over the state. The beauty of Plateau State is that the magnitude of the internally displaced persons cannot be fully appreciated because they are not in a camp. Not all of them are in camps.
Yes.
Because traditionally, we have very closely knit families, and extended families try to look out for their relations. So quite a number of them have been taken in by families, and therefore you won't go and find them in camps, and that's why the magnitude is reduced. The people who are in camps largely now are the victims of the attack in the last 1 year, and we're trying to make sure that we still resettle them back to their communities.
Okay. Let me take you back to politics. After you won the election, you had to do your best to retain your mandate. Was there any time, especially after you lost at the appeals tribunal, that you may not be able to hold on to that mandate? Did you have that fear at some point?
If I say I didn't have a fear, I would not be a normal human being. As a normal human being, there are moments when doubts must come in. particularly when I appreciated the magnitude of the forces that were trying to keep me out of office. When I began to understand their complexion and nature, certainly there were moments when fear entered my heart. But the beauty of it is that I have learned to trust in God over the years. When I have reached moments when it looks as if it is impossible, I have learned to turn to God. And this is what I did. I turned to God, and God raised people that up till today, some of them I don't know. People who stood for us in places we least expected. And I want to thank God that God eventually showed up at the Supreme Court. You know, whatever was the motive behind the decisions at the Court of Appeal, again, I leave it to God. But as a lawyer, I also believe in the preservation of the judiciary.
Yes.
I believe that it's an institution we cannot toy with. And therefore, I don't believe in throwing the baby at the bathwater. That a decision went against me according to the whims and caprices of 3 people does not mean that the institution, you know, should be vilified.
Yes.
I believe that we must do everything we can to protect the integrity of the judiciary, because truly, at the end of the day, it is the last hope of the common man.
Yes. The security situation, from what I hear, has improved. I don't know whether you have a contrary opinion. If indeed it has improved from your findings, from your checks, what could be responsible for the improvements that has happened?
Yes, thank you. You know, it's painful to be looking at statistics of death to be able to talk about improvement or no improvement. But if you look at it from the perspective of the casualties we're recording last year, almost on a daily basis, and compare it with where we are today, we certainly have gone forward. We certainly are in a better position than where we were last year. There's no doubt about it. But it still pains my heart. Each day I still hear anybody that is killed, any community that is attacked. We still have those sporadic issues. But by the grace of God, what we have done over the last 1 year is to be able to improve our security management.
Yes.
As you know, the debate will continue as to whether governors are truly chief security officers when we don't have control over the security agencies.
Or chief logistics officers.
But what we've done is that we've improved our man management of the security forces. For example, the frequency with which security meetings were held before we came on board, we've stepped up.
Okay.
We're having a lot of security meetings now with the security chiefs. But importantly, we've also gone down, make sure that the local government administration is able to engage the operatives on ground. Because the commanders on the field are very critical. While I am engaging the ogas at the top, you know, the local government chairman engage the operatives on ground so that there is better community understanding. There have been quite a number of flashpoints between the communities and the military, for example. Sometimes due to lack of communication, basically. And we've tried to manage those flashpoints, you know, between the security forces and the community. Of course, there have been bad eggs among some of the security agencies.
Yes, which is said that some of them connive with this criminal.
Where we have reason to suspect so, we've raised it with their higher authorities. On a number of occasions, the higher authorities have come in decisively, you know, to be able to move such people out of those places. Sometimes, to be honest with you, it could be transfer of aggression. You know, sometimes the communities get frustrated because of past incidents. And so when there is a mistake by any of the security personnel, they take it out on them. And so we've had to step in to be able to promote understanding between the communities and the security operatives on ground.
Yes.
Of course, we've had to step in and do the little we can in providing the welfare for the welfare of these security forces. The truth about it is that some of them, the civil defense, the police, sometimes the working environment, you know, is not the best for them.
Yes.
And so we've had to step in. Sometimes it's as little as providing fuel to be able to go to distressed areas. And so from time to time, we've learned to manage those issues. And again, very importantly, we've raised the consciousness of the communities to defend themselves. It's very critical.
How do they defend themselves?
Well, first of all, the methodology of these criminals is surprise. They take these communities by surprise. Now, the first thing about the community is vigilance. Vigilance is key.
Yes.
Vigilance will give you advanced signals that something is about to happen. And what we've done again is to say that every community must be its brother's keeper.
Okay.
Often than not, these attackers pass through several communities to get to the community they want to attack. Now, when those first-line communities pick up the signal and they are able to send advance warning, sometimes it comes to me directly. I can tell you that my phone is very open. Sometimes I get intelligence that there's a gathering somewhere that could lead to an attack to any of our communities. We alert the security agencies, and sometimes they quickly intervene. Okay. Now, I will not sit here and tell you that the security in the communities will just sit down without thinking of how they can be able to defend themselves. How they do that is left to them. But the consciousness that they must do it, especially the youths, is very critical. Because usually the youths are the first line of people that can either save the community or it will be the community will be defeated. And so we are making a lot of advocacy. Let the youths refrain from activities, that take away their energy and strength, that distract them, from becoming the people that take care of their parents in each community.
Yes.
And as communities come together, they form a line of, even if somebody is armed and he knows that the person he's going to attack is aware that he's coming,
yes,
he certainly will be more careful. And this is the kind of thing we are promoting. The other thing we are doing, we've also been able to track a lot of these criminal elements and hand them over to the security agencies. What is paining us now is that we've not been able to profile those criminal elements for prosecution. I think that is one of the key things that is lacking in the fight against insecurity. If we're able to get these criminals, prosecute them, and they face the
examples of them.
Make examples of them. So these are the challenges that we're facing. And we hope that as we progress, we'll be able to put a handle on this.
Now, would you support state police, for example, given the experiences that you've talked about?
I'm an unrepentant, unequivocal advocate of state police. People have suggested that politicians will misuse state police.
Yes, especially governors.
Yes, and that's absolute rubbish. I think the debate about state police for me boils down to who controls the budget and who controls the men. Those who are in control of the budget now will not want to let go. For me, that is the bottom truth. Now, you can't sit in it. It's very frustrating. I've had situations here where the IG has directed the Commissioner of Police to do things that I know are contrary to what will help us in the state. And it's simply a power play, nothing more. You know, now, how do we forestall the possibility of misuse? For me, again, the American model comes into play. You have the county police, you have the state police, you have the federal police, which is the FBI. And it's so structured in such a way that where there is a situation that is beyond the capacity of these other lower institutions to handle, the FBI steps in. So when we are saying state police, we are not saying dismantle the Nigerian police. No. What it simply means is that there must be a federal police, smaller, more equipped, more effective. We must be able to move forward as a nation and say, okay, what do we put in place to mitigate the possibility of this misuse? That, I think, should be the debate. Of course, if you create state police, the revenue formula, allocation formula would have to change.
Yes.
You cannot then sustain the budget to the security, to the police at the federal level. Some of it has to cascade to the states.
Yes.
Now, these are things that is not going to be easy to change, you know. And at the end of the day, the state governments are left with a lot of investment in security, you know. And I think that where people know that the governor is in control of the police,
yes,
and he does not make sure the police perform and function optimally,
yes,
it will become a campaign issue. He will be voted out on the basis of that. And that is particularly as we also ensure that our electoral process keeps improving to the point that the votes of the people will count. And I think that the possibility of making sure that the votes of the people count is a matter of political will. It's a matter of political will. And if we decide that we want to make it work, it will work.
Okay. Let's talk about roads now. Everywhere I went, people talked about the role that Baba, your predecessor, just before Baba Jang, the role that he has played in terms of building roads, connecting just main city to the neighboring towns. What are you doing at this point? What are you doing differently, but targeted at achieving the same goal?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Babajide. You know, when we won this election,
yes,
one of the things that confronted us was the level of filth within Jos Metropolis, for example.
yes,
And the level of the degradation of the inner city roads. It was a matter of concern. And despite facing the challenges of litigation, we thought that we should be able to leave an impression on our people. I've always said it, that service delivery for me is not a favor to the people, it's a duty.
yes,
While we were elected to be able to deliver service, and if we don't deliver service, it will be quite unfortunate. And so we revived the State Road Maintenance Agency because we didn't have the funds to be awarding contracts. So what we did was to revive the State Road Maintenance Agency, and they went about, you know, as we made funds available, they began to fix some of the inner city roads, you know, and to the glory of God, the people appreciated it. And I think it also went a long way to allay the fears of people about us, because we also inherited a state that was sharply divided on the basis of faith, for example.
yeah,
And what we did was to be able to address this road rehabilitation, irrespective of faith, irrespective of tribe. We went about it assiduously, and to the glory of God, many people that had preconceived notions about us began to drop those things. For us, the duty of making Jos a clean, modern city is a job that must be done. One of the things that really attracted people to Jos in the First Republic, getting even into the Second Republic, was the serenity of the city, the beauty of the city. We want to restore that.
And the peace.
And the peace, yes. So it's years of neglect. Like you said, Babajang did a lot, in terms of improving road infrastructure. I wish it had continued under his successor, but not much of it was seen. He had other priorities. But we've come back and we've said, look, we must revisit that key development. Road infrastructure is very key. And what we are determined to do by the grace of God, as funds become available, we want to aggressively pursue that mandate. For now, we are trying to make sure that we go outside of the city to cover the entire state, where we'll slow down a little bit because the rains are setting. But we are also strategizing that as soon as the rains are over, virtually every part of the state will feel the impact of our investment in road infrastructure. Because being an agrarian state, we need good roads to move goods, to the commercial cities. And so we want to be able to connect where this farm produce, is coming out from to where the market is available. So for us, like I said, we are not doing Plateau people a favor. I believe this is why we were elected. And by God's grace, we have a duty to perform.
Okay, Your Excellency, before I take you to the greater Jos master plan, there is something that people get emotional about. That is the terminus market. For someone like me visiting Jos in those days, it was always my duty to go there, Now, after the fire, terminus has been abandoned. I saw the relics of that building and my blood boiled. Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan to revive that, or are you just going to leave it the way your predecessors left it?
No, certainly I share your pain about the Jos main market. It was one of the legacy assets of Plateau State. Starting from, it will amaze you to know that the idea of the market started from the legendary J.D. Gogmo, but it was the honor and privilege of Chief Solomon Lab to see its completion. Unfortunately, at the onset of the Fourth Republic, it got burned down, and till today, we've not been able to bring it back to shape. I can tell you that we're exploring many options. By God's grace, that is a legacy project we want to bring back. Now, I don't know in what shape and form it will be decided purely by commercial reasons. For now, we're toying with many options. Our key strategy for revamping such infrastructure is to bring in the private sector. Because part of the challenges the market had in the past was that it was left in the hands of public officials who normally do not display the kind of integrity in managing those assets. And so we want to be able to bring in private capital to be able to bring that legacy back to reality. But again, like I said, we're yet to decide in what form or shape it will come. But in my heart of hearts is one of the legacies I want to revive. And make sure that before I leave office, that people will remember that this asset was there.
Yes.
It went down, but it has come
brought it back. It had a unique architecture.
Yes.
Would you flirt with the idea of
we will try to recreate memory.
Yes.
We'll try to recreate memory. One of the things we would do is that when we make the decision on who would lead that investment initiative,
yes.
we'll also make sure that the people have a say in what they want it to look like.
Okay.
By God's grace, it's part of our history, and we want to preserve it.
Now, just for many, Plateau State had been known for tourism. So it's a place that many people like to visit, especially foreigners, before insecurity gave Plateau such a bad name. What are your plans for tourism?
Yes. Let me say this, at the risk of sounding controversial, that Plateau was given a bad name not just for its security, but it was a deliberate demarketing initiative. I say this without equivocation, that Jos remains one of the safest cities in northern Nigeria. And a lot of the crisis that has been used to give Jos a bad name happened kilometers away from Jos. And that's why till today, it will amaze you to know that our hotels are still full to capacity. Because Jos is strategically located.
Yes.
That is a transit to the north, to the northeast. And there are times a very prominent Lagos businessman came in here about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he couldn't get an hotel room to sleep. I was amazed myself, but that is how Jos has retained this aura for people to come in. So it still remains a tourism destination. What we are trying to do now is to be able to raise the profile of the tourism potentials of the Plateau.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I can tell you, we're trying to come up with a tourism roadmap that will define all the tourism potentials of the state and where private sector can come in and invest. We're already talking with a lot of international organizations who are even willing to finance this development of the roadmap.
Yes.
We are talking with international tourism managers who believe that we have not yet harnessed the tourism potential of the state, and they are right, you know. And that is one of the reasons why I think it's up to 4 weeks now. We signed an MOU to redevelop the famous Hill Station Hotel, which was a flagship hotel in northern Nigeria with a lot of colonial history. And we hope that before the year runs out, actual development on ground will start. This is going to entail investments of billions of naira. And it will amaze you that the Hill Station Hotel has a large acreage, over 30 hectares of land.
Wow.
And with a lot of fantastic scenery around the hotel. We're also talking with a potential investor for the Plateau Hotel. We believe that something modern and futuristic can come out of that, the relics of the Plateau Hotel. We're talking about the Rayfield Resort. The Rayfield Resort. It's another tourism attraction waiting to be harnessed. The Jos Wildlife Park, which is the one of the only 2 urban wildlife parks in Africa, one in Kenya, one in Jos. Unfortunately, due to years of mismanagement. Today it is a shadow of its past. I was out of the country recently, and I was talking with a wildlife park manager in Namibia. You know, they do a lot of wildlife park in East Africa, in South Africa.
Yes.
We tend to collaborate with them and bring them to tap from their expertise, you know, in managing these assets. So, God willing, it won't take long. We will begin to see the fruit of our labor in trying to redevelop the tourism sector. And it will interest you to know that one of the best tourism resorts in Plateau,
yes,
the Miango Rest House, which started as a missionary rest house in 1914, is still doing very well till today. People come from all over, out of the country, just to savor the taste of that environment. And the interesting thing is that we are also in discussion with FAN, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria.
Okay.
We're going to unlock the potentials of the Jos Airport as a regional hub, both for cargo and for, you're going to see a lot of traffic improvement at the Jos Airport when we're done with what we're trying to do. And so movement in and out of Jos shouldn't be a problem.
I'm excited about your plan for the airport, because in countries like Ethiopia, they have what is called agropolis, where they export fresh flowers through those airports located in rural areas, situated where those things are produced, fresh tomatoes, flowers, and the rest of them for export. So I'm happy about that. My last question really is not a question. It's just to ask you to talk directly to the people of Plateau State, just to address them in 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. One of the main things we promised Plateau people when we were elected, well, even before we were elected, we promised them that we'll provide leadership. And that is what I want Plateau people to still trust us. There is no day that I go to bed without thinking of how to improve Plateau and how to make life better for Plateau people. This is, for me, is a mission. And it will pain me if I fail in this mission. And so I want Plateau people to keep faith with us, that by the grace of God, this trust they have given us will not be misplaced.
Thank you, Excellency, for the opportunity.
Appreciate it.
I wish you Godspeed as you continue to lead our people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, what a chat, that one, you know.